Cool. This is going to be a final panel for the day. But oops, sorry. Yeah, and also one of the more interesting ones as well. So thank you guys for joining in today. The topic for this panel is going to be exploring other sources for credentials using zero knowledge proofs. Right. So we have Yanis and Tyler. Maybe you could take 20 seconds each to talk about yourself and the project that you're working on. And yeah, one second.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Yanis. I'm part of the PSC team, and I'm a member of a team called anon-adhaar. We are developing a protocol to prove your anon-adhaar citizenship in a privacy enhancing way. We are basically verifying that you have an Aadhaar card that has been signed by the Indian government, and we are developing it at PSC.
All right.
I think it should be
Hello?
on. Yeah,
Okay. So I'm Tyler, go by Adhard Engineer Online. I work at PSC. I'm a project coordinator on quite a few projects, but primarily tls-notary and ZK email. So both are very applicable to this event.
got it. Got it. So yeah, maybe you could answer on both projects as and when relevant. So maybe you could kick this off. Tyler, if you may start this. Can you describe a little bit more technically as to what are you doing to generate these ZK proofs for ZK email as well as tls-notary? Like what's the core insight that you're building on? A little bit more technically.
Yeah. So for ZK email, there is basically a process where you have to take some email that you want to extract information from and put that through a regex parser. We make a custom circuit for that email template, and from that circuit, then a user could then prove, I control some, Twitter address or whatever, and it's a little complicated to build that process, but it's pretty simple to run it. The proving times are improving, but they're still 5 or 10 minutes on your browser. We have some techniques on server side, so if the user doesn't care about privacy as much, there's techniques we have to speed that up there. For tls-notary, so there's no ZK proofs at the end yet. We're working on all kinds of stuff there. And there's actually two setups for tls-notary that you can do. So if I'm trying to prove some data to you, we don't need a separate notary, right? So you and I can construct some MPC process, and neither of us have full control of the session, right? So I could say, I want to prove to you that I control, some bank account, for example, right? And yeah, we can agree on those specs. Like I'm going to reveal some information to you and nothing else, and then you can assure that I have, we both participated in this TLS session properly, right? The other mechanism is using a separate notary. So this is a bit more of an oracle process. So like if I'm trying to prove something to you, but you are not in this process, I can, construct some information, some proof to you using a notary. So they would be involved in the NPC process, and then you would have to be able to trust them. So that notary can't see any information from the actual session, but they can notarize that it was authentic, right? Some, I talked to some server, requested some data, got something back that I'm now sharing with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Got it. And just to make sure I get to what I was trying to get to with this question is tls-notary, you explained it beautifully. Also on ZK email, you I think use the signatures in the
headers of the email, yeah. So there's RSA signatures
got
from, if you email with Google or whatever, like Google signed off saying, that this email was authentic leaving our systems.
Right. Right. Got it. And that somehow gets encapsulated in a ZK proof.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, with that, Jens, do you also want to shed light on what's the core primitive that you're using in anon-adhaar for generating legal proofs?
Yeah, so it's working the same way. So as an Indian citizen, you have like your physical Aadhaar card that you can ask. You can redeem a digital Aadhaar card in the form of a PDF, and this PDF is RSA signed. And so we are verifying that the document was signed with the Indian government public key. So that's how it works.
Probably in the interest of folks who might not know about Aadhaar, maybe like a couple sentences about what Aadhaar is.
Yeah, so Aadhaar is the identity program. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was started in 2009. It's one of the biggest identity program in the world. There is almost 1.4 billion people that have an Aadhaar identity. Um, it's it's a system that have proven that can be efficient in the case of a country such as India. But there is some privacy issues. That's why we think that proving your Aadhaar identity through ZK can solve some of the problems because in the case of the Aadhaar card is like bounded with a lot of tasks that you need to complete in your daily life. It can be health, banking, and yeah, all over the things that you need to do in life, even like payments, which are linked with your SIM card. So yeah, that's why we use this primitive to solve this problem.
Correct. And that brings me to the next question, which is when you're generating these ZK proofs, what are the trust assumptions? Like that's a common question that comes up in Web3. You're building these solutions. What are the trust assumptions that are implicit to your um, yeah, to the product? I think you touched upon it for the tls-notary part of things. Maybe what is it for ZK email and another respective?
Yeah, so for ZK email, the only real trust assumption is that Google or Apple or any other email provider aren't forging emails or manipulating your email. Right? They're in control of the keys that you're using for proving. So you can use this as it's a bit of like an out of band mechanism, unnatural mechanism to be able to basically take any email and be able to prove that. But yeah, Google or some other service, Amazon, whatever, decides to forge emails, then you can't do anything about that. It's kind of a problem. But
It's a fair assumption,
hopefully
just to make sure
won't
that
happen.
they
Yeah.
got it. Yes, similarly. On your end.
Yeah, in the case of anon-adhaar, the trust assumption is that the Indian government is not forging fake identities. So
Right.
yeah, that's the trust assumption in the protocol.
Yeah, and talking of trust assumptions, like what are the kind of use cases where this kind of trust minimization is super important? Like, what are the use cases where trustlessness actually matters, both in Web 2, Web 3, however you look at it? Do you want to take a step first?
Yeah. So I don't know. I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and it's a topic where like privacy really matters the most, right? So like if I want to share that I control some Twitter address, I don't, I'm not really concerned about trust that much in that system, right? Maybe if my session token gets leaked or something, then that's kind of a problem. Someone could take control of my Twitter account, but it's not really gonna hurt my life, like my
Right.
financial life or anything, right? But for proof of citizenship or like proving that I have some amount of my bank account or anything like that, that's like where it gets I get a little paranoid about it, right? I would prefer the most trustless options. And yeah, I mean, one day I would like to be able to buy a house without having to prove, without actually revealing my name, my social, my credit history, whatever. Like, if I could just use ZK to prove all these facts, I'd be able to purchase some car, some property, or something. And I think that's really the holy grail.
But so anything that has to do with like PII and finance for you is like covered. Yes, do you have a take on like what are the use cases in which trust minimization is super important?
Um, Sorry, the question is not like really clear for me. Like, what do you call a trust assumption in this case?
So, like, what are the use cases in which it really matters that we need to trust the system that it works correctly, it's not leaking information, stuff like that.
Um, like in the
Is that a
cases.
fair paraphrase? Is that a better way to ask that question?
I mean, I think that's a pretty good way to frame it. Or I think also the concern is like being able to forge data or anything like that.
Right,
So like,
right.
I think in your case, it's more of like, can the Indian government be able to forge some information, right? Or
Yeah,
lie
exactly.
about some fact.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So what are the use cases in which you know the consumer of the proof that gets generated from another really needs to know that hey the process in which this proof was generated was not tampered with at all, right? So like what Tyler mentioned, like if it's about a Twitter account, maybe it's okay if there's a few errors, but like what are the extremes on the spectrum that really need proofs of the highest integrity?
In the case of Aadhaar, I said, it's like verifying that the document was signed with the RSA, the Indian RSA public key. So it's a quite strong assumption, but what it lacks, like for example, like if your question is more like what are the trust assumption that we need to have like a strong real life use case. Now we are working on a way to nullify the proof. So like being able like to basically prove that you are like a unique citizen. And so yeah, and also being able like to prove also other data linked to your identity, such as your age or place of birth. Yeah.
And also, so I think yesterday or early today morning, you launched something to do with journalism, I believe, using anon-adhaar.
Linked with what? Sorry.
So there's Voice Deck or something like that that got launched from PSC that was using anon-adhaar. Do you know about the project, or is it like a separate team?
I don't what
So Voice Deck was a no, okay,
no.
maybe a different team inside PSC.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a separate team. I actually just heard about this also.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't got to dig into the details, but it
Okay.
sounds pretty interesting.
Okay, so cool. So maybe I could just move on to the next question. So what are people getting wrong about zero knowledge proofs right now? I know that like when we talk about zero knowledge proofs, largely to developers, the first image that comes is that of ZK rollups, which has captured the mind share of people. But when it comes to ZK proofs, it's quite a bit different. Like what are people getting wrong about ZK proofs?
I think there's really like two angles you can look at here. There's the provable computation, right? It's like you can use this in ways where we can get rid of a lot of trust assumptions for servers, right? Like we can really get rid of like login credentials in a lot of ways, and stuff like that. The provable computation side, I think, is super powerful and super important, but also data portability, right? So this provides a way for us to be able to extract the data out of certain silos and make that portable in other places, right? It's like yeah, if there's some verifier everybody agrees on, then you can use some piece, proof some data in all of those locations without having to actually use OAuth or whatever. Like there's millions other things that this can just replace, where we can get rid of the centralized control of some server, some party, or whatever. We can make all these systems interoperable.
Got it. Interoperability because of the computation being verifiable even after the fact.
Yeah. Really, all of it does kind of boil down to provable computation.
Got it. Got it. Do you have a take, Yanis, on what people are getting wrong about zero knowledge proofs?
Um, it's not something wrong, but like, is ZK proof in the case of identity ready for a user at scale? The answer might be no for now, but ZK proof like enables like such beautiful systems and a way to handle identity in the way you can like disclose only the data that you want and build your digital identity in this way. So yeah, I think it's a really beautiful solution and a solution that can empower a user with a lot of privacy, but there is still a bit of work to do to have like a really strong UX, and we are working on to onboard like as much as people as we can.
If I might use that as a segue to the next question, like what are the improvements in both the ZK technology and the UX around it that you are seeing might improve in the next 6 to 12 months? Like, do you have like a vision on how that's moving? Maybe you could start with this.
Yeah, in our case, for now, the protocol and the proof that we are generating are quite cheap. But if we want to handle more data and prove more data about your identity, it can cost a lot. And also, for now, we have proving time that are quite good. You can prove your identity under 10 seconds. But we wanna be mm, we wanna be near like the UX that you can have like in your daily life today to have to use digital tools. So yeah, we are pushing to have like something that is really smooth and that you can onboard in your pocket. So being able like to prove your identity on mobile and have it like anywhere with you and in this case that you will be able to use it like in your daily life and yeah.
Got it. Do you have a sense as well, please?
Yeah. So
So,
I guess
yeah.
ZK email and tls-notary in
Okay.
particular. The whole ecosystem is kind of hard. Just a lot of work going in a lot of different directions there, so it's kind of hard to judge how this is going to go in 6 to 12 months.
Mhm.
But for ZK email, we're hoping to make client-side proving a lot more feasible. So right now it's like 5 or 10 minutes. It's not the best, right? Server side. So if you care less about privacy or you're using if you're running an email service or you want to prove someone emailed you some command or fax or whatever, you can do that. And server-side proving is getting better. For the next 6 to 12 months, I mean, we're hoping to have that pretty feasible in the browser. And for tls-notary, I mean, we really depends on like how much time, how long you want to wait to be able to do some MPC protocol. It really is like bandwidth constraints rather than like proving times necessarily. So the faster internet you have with your notary server or your verifier, the better it is. So we're on the order of 10 kilobytes a second or 10 kilobytes per minute of notarization ish. But the next hopefully 6 months, year, we're hoping to like 100x that. So
Okay.
make
Nice.
it. So I mean, like really the holy grail is like being able to notarize a whole page, right?
All right.
You can I want to notarize my whole bank statement and hide certain things of it, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's getting there. There's
Okay.
a lot of work to do. Yeah.
Got it. And so in that perspective, where is the work going in right now? So is it more on the UX, product development, that kind of things, or is it more on the research around improving the legal circuit, the languages that we use for that? So where is the research going in right
Yeah,
now?
we're primarily concentrating on the underlying protocol, speeding up the underlying protocols, and really getting proving times, MPC times down, MPC bandwidth down. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
So UI UX stuff and things like selective disclosure, things like we're making a system for ZK email to be able to just drop in an email and be like, I want this data out, and then it spits out some magic regex circom circuit that you could just compile and use that. UX is definitely a concern of ours, but yeah, the primary concentration I would say is like underlying protocols, trying to get those as fast as possible and as efficient as possible. Yeah.
Got it. Is that similar to you, or are there something specific to anon-adhaar that you're working on?
Yes, so in the case of anon-adhaar, right now what we are working on, we are improving our proving system. So being able to nullify proof, as I said. Also, we are delivering the protocol through an SDK, and so we wanted like to have the best dev experience associated to it, and also being able like to onboard it on mobile, as I said, and yeah, we have we believe that in the next month we will have something that is really proving that you can really use ZKPs to prove your identity, and we are building it. Also, in the case of anon-adhaar, what is quite beautiful about it is that we are verifying an RSA signature, and so you have a lot of other authorities and identity issuers that are using the same system. For example, at PSC there is another team that is developing like a proof of passport. So you have a chip inside of your passport, and you can query it through NFC, and so you can also generate a ZKP that you have an identity, that you have a passport. So yeah, I really think that this way of proving that having an authority that sign document and being able like to verify that this signature and generate a ZKP based on that is quite a strong system, and we want to improve it and deliver it in the best way.
Correct. And all of this on mobile, you said, right?
Yes. So now we have an SDK that for web development, but we are developing it to have it on mobile for beginning of next year. Yes.
Awesome. Good. Hey, so I added this question after a question that came up in a couple of earlier panels, which is when we talk about ZK-based products, it becomes really hard to define a business model because largely the ZK proofs are being generated on the client side. And it just becomes harder to define a business model. Like, do you have some sense of what kind of business models might be possible for teams that are building on top of, let's say, ZK email or tls-notary, anon-adhaar? Like, what's going to be the business model for such protocols? Or are they always going to be public goods? Do you have any intuition there?
I mean, obviously, we're primarily concentrating on public goods, but I think providing services where you're essentially providing computation and clean UX to be able to run a notary and be able to stake your reputation. It's like someone could pay you for computation time and your reputation to sign some data, right? Or in the case of ZK email, you could run some proving server, right? So proving for ZK email, you're not going to do that on your phone. It's not friendly, right
Okay.
now. So having some service where you could give access to your Gmail or whatever, then have that server be able to make a bunch of proofs for you. I think that's a lot more in the realm of like a service that people would be willing to pay for. Because this stuff is like computation expensive, outsourcing that, I think there's definitely a model there. But yeah, I mean, we're primarily concentrating on public goods, so I don't think about the business use cases too often. I mean, I hear little things that are interesting, but we're primarily like deep in the weeds of like protocol research and stuff like that, trying to work on that stuff. Yeah.
Do you have any intuition on?
No, I share 100% the point of Tyler here.
Yeah.
But we are not thinking about business model, but more about adoption and public goods. And in the case of anon-adhaar, I mean the end goal is like being able to work with maybe the authority and like being able to help them in their mission. So that would be like something that will prove that we are building a public good that is quite strong and powerful.
Got it. So last question to wrap this up is, if somebody is looking to build solutions based off of these other sources to generate credentials, what are like good hackathon projects people can pick up for either Istanbul in the next few days?
There's quite a lot of interest in on and off ramping. Trustlessly being able to move money from Revolut or Venmo or whatever, and be able to exchange that on chain. A lot of peer-to-peer markets I've been hearing a lot about. Really, when you can use TLS-notary or ZK email or any of these other systems to be able to take out the middleman, the centralized parties, then it's anything you have to use some service that really is just controlling some reputation or anything like that, we can start working around. Essentially, like we can start doing business without them in the middle. Yeah.
Got it. What about another? Like, what are some hackathon projects people can start building on top of another?
Yeah. So right now, as I said, we have a SDK, and you can build quite of fun stuff with anon-adhaar now. You can build a private forum, for example, based on your Indian citizenship. You can also maybe think about a wallet where your social recovery method is like your Aadhaar identity. Or we also think about maybe on-chain and off-chain voting. That can be quite fun to do. So yeah, we we have some tools, and you can play with it at hackathons, and yeah, we are pretty excited to see what people will build on top of anon-adhaar, and also our repo is still open, and we are more than happy to have people that want to contribute or give feedback, and yeah.
Okay. Awesome. We'll circulate these in our dev forums. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler, and thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.